Buying a 3D printer is one of those decisions that feels simple on the surface and complicated the moment you start researching it. You might be thinking you'll just grab a popular model off Amazon, plug it in, and start printing cool stuff the same day. And while that sometimes happens, more often the reality is a mix of excitement, confusion, a few failed prints, and a slow realization that 3D printing is less like buying a microwave and more like adopting a very talented but very picky pet. Before you spend a single dollar, there are some things you really need to understand about what you're getting into. Not because 3D printing is bad, but because it's amazing in a very specific, very technical way. The people who love it tend to really love it. The people who quit often expected it to be something it never promised to be. One of the first surprises for new buyers is that 3D printers don't just work out of the box the way most consumer electronics do. Even the best machines require calibration, tuning, and a bit of mechanical empathy. When you buy a printer, you're not just buying a box that makes objects. You're buying a small manufacturing system. It has motors, belts, sensors, heaters, and firmware, and all of those parts need to be in sync for things to go well. That doesn't mean it's fragile. In fact, most modern printers are incredibly robust. But it does mean that learning how it works is part of the deal. You'll need to know how to level a print bed, how to adjust nozzle height, how to keep filament dry, and how to diagnose problems when prints fail. And yes, prints will fail. Even people who have been printing for years still get spaghetti disasters, warped corners, and mysterious layer shifts from time to time. Another thing most people don't realize is that the printer itself is only half of the system. The other half is the software. Every 3D printer relies on a slicer, which is the program that takes a 3D model and turns it into instructions the printer can follow. This is where you control things like layer height, print speed, infill, temperature, and dozens of other settings that directly affect how your prints turn out. Slicers are powerful, but they're also complex. You don't need to master everything on day one, but you do need to be comfortable experimenting. Two prints of the same object can come out completely differently depending on how you slice them. Understanding that relationship between software and hardware is what turns 3D printing from frustrating into incredibly rewarding. Then there's the question of what kind of printer you should get. Most people start with FDM printers, which use melted plastic filament to build objects layer by layer. These are the workhorses of the hobby. They're relatively affordable, they can print fairly large objects, and they're good for everything from toys to tools. Resin printers, on the other hand, use liquid resin cured by light to create extremely detailed parts. They're incredible for miniatures and jewelry, but they come with chemicals, fumes, and post-processing that make them less beginner-friendly. Choosing between these isn't about which is better, it's about what you want to make and how much mess you're willing to tolerate. If you want functional parts, brackets, enclosures, and things you can use around the house, an FDM printer is usually the right place to start. If you're obsessed with tiny details and smooth surfaces, resin might be tempting, but it comes with a much steeper learning curve. One of the biggest myths about 3D printing is that it's cheap. The printers themselves have gotten very affordable, but the real cost is in everything around them. Filament, resin, replacement nozzles, build plates, tools, cleaning supplies, adhesives, upgrades, and electricity all add up over time. You don't have to spend a fortune, but you should expect this to be an ongoing hobby, not a one-time purchase. Filament alone is a perfect example. PLA is cheap and easy to use, which is why it's so popular. But once you want stronger, more heat-resistant, or more flexible parts, you'll start looking at PETG, ABS, TPU, nylon, and specialty blends. Each of these behaves differently, prints differently, and costs differently. Learning materials is part of the journey. Another thing that surprises people is how long 3D printing takes. A small part might print in 20 minutes, but a medium-sized object can easily take 6, 10, or even 20 hours. And during that time, the printer needs to run without something going wrong. That's not a problem, but it does change how you think about making things. You don't just hit print and wait a minute. You plan prints. You schedule them. You sometimes leave a machine running overnight and hope you wake up to something beautiful instead of a pile of melted plastic. This is also why reliability matters so much. A printer that fails halfway through a long print isn't just annoying. It wastes time, material, and energy. That's why things like auto bed leveling, filament sensors, And good cooling systems are more than just nice features. They protect your investment. Then there's the issue of space. A 3D printer is not silent. It has fans, motors, and moving parts that make noise. It also produces heat, and depending on the material, sometimes smells. You don't need a factory, but you do need a place where the printer can live without driving you or your family crazy. Many people set up printers in garages, basements, or spare rooms for this reason. Maintenance is another part of the reality. Nozzles wear out, belts stretch, build surfaces get scratched. These are not failures, they're just the cost of doing business. The good news is that most of these parts are cheap and easy to replace, and doing so teaches you more about how your machine works. One of the most beautiful things about 3D printing is that it connects you to a global community of makers. There are millions of designs available online for free or cheap. Need a phone stand? Someone has made one. Need a replacement clip for your dishwasher? There's probably a model for that too. But you'll also eventually want to design your own parts, which means learning some kind of 3D modeling software. That's another skill, another learning curve, and another place where the hobby can become deeply rewarding. And then there's the emotional side of 3D printing. When it works, it feels like magic. You take a digital idea, press a button, and hours later you're holding something real. Something you made. Something that didn't exist before. That feeling never really goes away. It's what keeps people coming back, even after failed prints and clogged nozzles. But you have to go in with the right mindset. 3D printing is not a vending machine. It's a craft. It rewards patience, curiosity, and a willingness to learn. The people who struggle most are the ones who expect perfection without effort. So before you buy a 3D printer, ask yourself not just what you want to make, but how you want to spend your time. Do you enjoy tinkering? Do you like solving problems? Are you excited by the idea of slowly mastering a complex machine? If the answer is yes, then a 3D printer might be one of the most satisfying purchases you ever make. If the answer is no, that's okay too. 3D printing isn't for everyone. But for those who fall in love with it, it becomes more than a tool. It becomes a way of thinking about the world. A way of seeing objects not as fixed things, but as things that can be designed, modified, and brought into existence with a little plastic, a little software, and a lot of imagination. And that's something no off-the-shelf product can ever replace.